What's up, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite New York Jets subscription podcast, Badlands. I'm your host, Joe Caporoso, joined as always by Connor Rodgers, fresh off recording a War Room. We talked DJ Reed, sack totals, over-unders there. We talked a little interior offensive line. We talked a whole ton of things. Connor, how you doing? How you feeling?
Doing great. Quiet time of the year, late June. We almost made it through a week of the Jets not appearing at all, and then Tay Hayes just had to ruin it all. He had to. He was swiftly released. The Jets almost managed to just completely stay out of the news cycle. Obviously, Tay Hayes not exactly an impact player, but we will never forget.
We'll always have the Eagles game.
We'll always
and Craig James.
I shouldn't say it's funny, when somebody's arrested and then cut and all that, but the fact that like every picture with the news is the Eagles game, obviously. Yes. We'll always have the Eagles game.
We got a couple different questions today that tie into current things happening around the team, although again, this is a quiet-ish time. PSA's off the top. Rope hats for sale at www.badlandstoj.com. Also, new workout shorts for sale at badlandstoj.com. So we sold out of the rope hats. We brought them back. If you watch War Room, you saw CR rocking it. We also shared a picture of it in Twitter by this point. And get the workout shorts going. Also, still have our best ball drafts going with Underdog Fantasy. Sign up, use promo code Badlands, and get a deposit match, 50% up to $250. All right, first question from Shogun88. What's most likely to happen before the start of camp? 1, Reddick signs a 2-year extension. 2, the media stops talking about Aaron Rodgers missing mandatory camp.
Never going to happen.
3, the Jets sign a real safety. I would say the pretty clear answer here is that it will be number 1. We're never going to hear the media stop talking about Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp. We're never going to hear the media stop talking about a lot of stuff as it comes to Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not actually criticizing the media in this portion of it. I do think it's been pretty absurd how big of a deal everyone's making it that he missed 2 days of mandatory minicamp after he went to every single OTA and has been around the team consistently. Did the same thing last offseason. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I think the Jets did a poor job managing the communications around it. That certainly didn't help their cause. But I think overall it's not going to have an impact on the season. But to be fair, 1, we have a huge media ecosystem. People need things to talk about. It's a quiet time of the sports year. And Rodgers is one of the most famous football players in the world. People are going to talk about it because there's not much to talk about right now when it comes to football. And Rodgers likes being talked about and likes talking about being talked about and doesn't shy away from this stuff, whether he says he does or he doesn't. So this is what comes with having him be your quarterback. It's part of the entire package. So when he comes back from Egypt or wherever he is and he's back at training camp, he's probably going to say something that will generate some news cycles. When he does or doesn't play in the preseason or has a veteran day of practice, there's going to be news cycles. At the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers needs to go play football and be on the field playing football for the Jets. He's been part of this ecosystem for what feels like a really long time now, and he's only got to play 4 plays that matter. We've all been hanging on to that one preseason drive too, but that doesn't count, of course. That is all that is going to turn the page on that dialogue. Fair or unfair, that's just the reality of the situation. The Jets
got to win.
Got to win. Got to have Aaron Rodgers out there. Go win week 1 on Monday Night Football in front of the whole country and play well. Guess what everyone's going to be talking about? Jets are the new Super Bowl favorites. They just went into San Francisco and beat the Niners, and Rodgers looks like vintage Rodgers. And oh my God, this roster's loaded. I didn't realize how good Quincy Williams was and AVT was because I never watched the Jets, but oh my God, they're loaded. So go do that. Now, to the other point of it, I think Reddick gets done last week of July, first week of August. 2-year Band-Aid contract. It's something that he gets back from Japan. He's out of his outfit. He's signed. He's in camp. He's in the preseason.
Or he stays in it and signs wearing it.
We got people all over the world. Imagine not having your edge rusher in Japan and your quarterback in Egypt right now and thinking, like, what are we talking about? This is the Jets. It's the way to do it. Last but not least, I would love for them to go sign like a Simmons or a Quandre Diggs. I just don't think it's going to happen until like late preseason if the young guys struggle, basically, where they're like, all right, like we got to go get another veteran. So a very long-winded answer. That's kind of how I see these. These are like the current-ish things hovering around the team. So that's the order I see them playing out. What about you, CR?
Yeah, that's absolutely. I mean, Rodgers he makes headlines. He honestly does it on purpose most of the time. So the media is not going to shy away. And then when he doesn't want to be in the headlines, here's the thing with Rodgers now. We've reached the point where because we haven't heard from him in a while, right? By his standards. When the media has weeks and weeks to talk about him and he's not doing any media, podcast, tweeting, whatever, when he returns, he always speaks to set things how he wants them portrayed, right? Like that's what, because he's a man basically at this point and he's fed up at this point of his life where when rumors start to fly, like when he went into the dark and all that's like, he just comes out and he's like, this is what was going on. So whether you believe him or not, or whether you want to listen or don't, like he is going to speak for himself all the time now. You said it, Joe. That's what comes with Rodgers being your quarterback. Love it or hate it. So that's not going anywhere. If the Jets lose on Monday Night Football, he's probably still doing McAfee that week, talking about the game and some things they need to clean up that, it's an extended preseason and we're going to, get right. And home opener is going to be great. And like, we got a crazy schedule. It's just part of it. Now, the last one's tricky, right? Because there hasn't been a peep about Justin Simmons. It's almost kind of weird for somebody that's an all-pro caliber safety that there's not a peep. So is that a time where the Jets and Joe Douglas capitalize on a unique situation, which he's tried some of those in June before, although June went fast. It's crazy. June's almost over. I'm sitting here. I kind of like got a little shiver over me. It's getting a little too close for comfort. Moving into July. I think that you could always be surprised, but there's just been no buzz at all about that. 2 years, I guess, would surprise me for Reddick, but it's not outlandish. It's not like the guy's 36 years old. I mean, if you give Reddick a 2-year extension, he's here for his age 29. When does he turn 30? Reddick turns 30 in September. So I still think the Jets would really like to make this like a incentive sweetener on this year. I thought you should extend him by a year. But if he wants $25 million a year or wherever the rumors are, that's not really possible when you have all of these guys due to get paid in 2 years. So unless it's just 1 year, $23 million guaranteed. I think what makes sense for Reddick in his mind is he probably saw the Danielle Hunter contract, right? Danielle Hunter is 30 years old. That's what Reddick will be turning in middle of September. Hunter went out in free agency and signed a 2-year, $49 million contract. 48 of it is guaranteed. So Hunter's just kind of trying to be the Kirk Cousins of pass rush. And Revis ran this playbook a little bit too, where he's like, I'm 30. He's like, I'm one of the best pass rushers in the league. I'm going to a scheme under DeMeco Ryans that I'm always going to have huge numbers playing across from Will Anderson. I'm going to go get almost $50 million guaranteed for the next 2 years. And I think I'm good enough. And he's in incredible shape, Danielle Hunter. He's a specimen. Where when I'm 32, I'll go get another $25 million guaranteed. I bet Reddick is thinking the same kind of thing. So that's where the Jets are in a really difficult place on a 2-year extension. Like, let me just throw it to you like that. Joe, would you give Reddick, and this contract starts in 2025, not this year, so 2025 and 2026, a 2-year, $50 million deal where 48 to 49 of it is guaranteed? Not easy.
It's not easy. I think I would. But it's not an easy decision. I'm putting myself in Joe Douglas's shoes, which is I have a 2-year window with Aaron Rodgers. If I give Reddick this contract, I have him for those 2 years and then sort of the bridge year after to whatever comes next. Maybe we get a miracle and Rodgers plays 3 years for us. If I don't do this, I have to go watch Bryce Huff, who I didn't handle that situation great. He's going to enter the prime of his career with the Eagles. We're going to be weak at pass rusher. pass rushers can age relatively well if they keep themselves in shape. Reddick's a former first round pick. He really hasn't showed any signs of slowing down. We expect him to be a double digit sack guy this year. I don't think it's going to be
been it for 4 years.
Yeah. I don't think it's crazy to expect him to be that next year, especially if he's in this defensive scheme. And, after that, could he be 7-8 sacks? Really, Jermaine Johnson is your 1A pass rusher, but Reddick is still there as a tertiary piece, taking up defenders. It's not like you're paying a lot of money for a top 7 or 8 player at a premium position. So it's not like paying a cornerback like we just talked about with DJ
Right.
Reed. I wouldn't consider that a premium position anymore. It's not paying like a safety or a guard. I think he's a good enough player where I don't love it with the age and I don't love it, but you went and traded for him and you can't have this distraction this year. You're going to need him next year. And what about McDonald? Like, this scheme needs multiple edge rushers. You're not going to function with just being Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. I want Will McDonald to be good, but we don't know what he's going to be yet. Hopefully he makes the leap, but we don't know. So I would be focusing my effort into getting money towards him versus trying to the Reed and the Carter situation. It's a bit risky, but you know what? Their whole situation is risky. It's not we built it the right way from the ground up. We drafted a franchise quarterback who's entering his prime. It's like they traded a first round pick for a 40-year-old quarterback. So like we're already like past the Rubicon here. We have a coaching staff who's on the hottest seat possible. We have a front office who's on the hottest seat possible. Everybody needs to win this year and next year. So unfortunately, you're doing things that sometimes have a shorter term lens, but the Jets have tried every other thing and it hasn't worked. You're going to try it this way with Aaron Rodgers. You're banking on the talent. You're banking on enough really young talent to balance that out with Garrett Wilson, with Breece Hall, with Sauce Gardner, with Quinton Williams, with Jermaine Johnson. So I don't feel great about it, but this team has been built in an unconventional way, and we have to make it work with this, from a record perspective, way below under 500 coaching staff, way below under 500 front office. So tough one, though. It's a tough one. And I'm sure they're batting it around, in the front office. Like,